Hello friends, welcome to today's class. Our today's topic is reproduction in organism, first chapter in second PUC biology or CBSE 12th. Now reproduction is one of the most important process in the living organism. Actually it is a biological process where the organism is going to produce young ones or offsprings similar to itself. By this process of reproduction, the organism is going to ensure the continuity of the species generation after generation. So, this process is very important in all the living organisms. Now, here we are going to learn one of the most important definition called lifespan, and it is very simple. It is a period from birth to death, natural death of an organism. That is lifespan. And lifespan is going to vary from organism to organism. It may be few days to thousands of years. And lifespan does not depend on the size of the organism also. For example, if you take crow, its lifespan is just 15 years. 15 years. Whereas if you take parrot, its lifespan is 140 years. Here what we can suggest that the size of crow and parrot is almost the same. But if you see the lifespan, it is totally a very large difference you can find. So again we can say that the lifespan is not going to depend on the size of the organism. It will vary. Similarly, if you take the example from plants also compared to mango tree and banyan tree also, banyan tree's lifespan is more when compared to mango tree. It means what? The lifespan does not depends on the size of the organism. One more important point you need to remember here is whatever the lifespan, whether it is few days or thousands of year, one day all the living organism need to taste the death. Means what? No organism in this world is immortal. No one is immortal. Everyone should die. There is one exception, except single cell organisms. Single cell organisms, we can say they are immortal, because during reproduction the single cell organisms are going to divide by cell division to produce two daughter cells. So these two daughter cells coming from this parent cell are going to continue the generation. So we can say except single cell organisms, all the other organisms are immortal. Now in reproduction there are two types, you know very well, sexual and asexual. And if during reproduction, if the single parent is involving, only one parent is involved, either male or female, then such a reproduction is considered as asexual. And in asexual reproduction, there may be involvement of gametes or no involvement of gametes. Gamete means sex cells. So such a reproduction is asexual reproduction. Whereas if in the reproduction both the parents are involving, father and mother, or two parents of opposite sex, if they are involving, and also there is a fusion of male and female gamete, means there is a process of fertilization also, such a reproduction is considered as sexual reproduction. If you see asexual reproduction in detail, you can see that you can find in only simple organisms, means the organisms having simpler organization. And as I said, the offsprings are going to produce by a single parent. And one more important point is during asexual reproduction, if for imagine this is one parent and it is going to produce two offsprings or two young ones, these two young ones are exactly similar to the parent, morphologically also and genetically also. The two young ones, which are the product of asexual reproduction, these two young ones are morphologically and genetically similar to the parent, and that term is considered as clone. Very important definition for 1 mark. Clone means the offsprings produced during asexual reproduction are genetically and morphologically similar to the parent. Now, if you see the simpler organisms like Protista and Monera, kingdom Protista and kingdom Monera organisms, they are going to reproduce, of course, asexually, and the mode of asexual reproduction is simple, that is cell division. By mitosis, they are going to reproduce the two daughter cells that will continue the generation. One more is binary fission. Binary fission you can find in amoeba or paramecium. It is also a type of asexual reproduction where the cell divides into two equal halves. One cell divide into two equal halves, and these two equal halves are going to further continue into two new individuals. One more asexual reproduction is budding that you can find in yeast. So in budding, what happens? On the surface of the yeast, you can find one small outgrowth, and simultaneously the genetic material also is going to divide. That will go to that bud also. That bud shows growth, and finally it is going to detach from the parent body and develops into new individual. So the type of asexual reproductions are cell division in Protista and Monera, binary fission in amoeba and paramecium, and budding in yeast. And one more type of asexual reproduction you need to remember here is encystation. Encystation. So this you are going to find in amoeba only. Amoeba, where during unfavorable condition, where the conditions are not in favor of the organism, around amoeba one capsule is going to form. That capsule is considered as cyst. So that is only encystation. During unfavorable condition, around the organism one capsule is going to form that will protect that organism during unfavorable condition. And when the conditions are in favor of the organism, the cyst is going to dissolve and the organisms able to reproduce again. It is also one kind of asexual reproduction. Now you can see here some of the vegetative structures. One more important point here is vegetative propagules. In plants, some structures are responsible for asexual reproduction, and in plants that asexual reproduction is considered as vegetative propagation. In plants, the asexual reproduction is considered as vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. And those structures are called as vegetative propagules or vegetative part or vegetative propagules. So in tuber, in potato, the vegetative part which is going to involve in asexual reproduction are tuber. In onion and garlic bulb, ginger, turmeric, banana and Dryopteris, it is rhizome. In Amorphophallus, Crocus and Calacasia, it is corms. Mint and chrysanthemum, it is sucker. Oxalis and centella, it is runners. Jasmine, stolon. Pistia and Echornia it is offset. In Bryophyllum, it is leaf buds. In agave, it is bulbil. And in Utricularia, it is turions. So these are all the vegetative propagules: tubers, bulb, rhizome, corms, suckers, runners, stolons, offsets, bulbil and turions. These are the vegetative propagules in these respective organisms, in these respective plants, which are going to detach from the parent plant and grows into a new plant. So they are all called as vegetative part or vegetative propagules. Similarly, in organisms you can find asexual reproductive structures. Asexual reproductive structures are there. In your syllabus you have 4 asexual reproductive structures. One is zoospores in Chlamydomonas, Conidia in Penicillium, buds in Hydra, and gemmules in sponges. So these are the 4 asexual reproductive structures: zoospore in Chlamydomonas, Conidia in Penicillium, buds in Hydra, and gemmule in sponges. You need to remember these names. Let us continue further. Let us talk about water hyacinth, terror of Bengal. It is the most problematic weed. Means this plant, it is accidentally came to our country because of its decorative flowers, and this plant is going to grow very invasive like, means grows wherever there is a standing water like in pond and lakes. Because of its excessive growth as a weed, this water hyacinth is going to consume all the available oxygen in the water and leads to the death of fishes. So water hyacinth is considered as terror of Bengal because it is the most problematic weed. It is responsible for the death of fishes in the ponds and lakes because for its excessive growth it is going to drain all the available oxygen in that water. Let us move further. The different phases in sexual reproduction, and the 3 phases are juvenile, reproductive, and senescence. These are the 3 phases in sexual reproduction. Juvenile, in the sense, it's a period between the birth and sexual maturity. From the birth till the puberty in case of animals, in case of human beings, that period is considered as juvenile phase, whereas in case of plants, it is considered as vegetative phase. From the birth or the germination of the seed till flowering in the plant, the first phase is considered as vegetative phase. In animals, it is juvenile phase. Second phase in sexual reproduction is reproductive phase, and some plants show flowering in particular season, some other flowers in all the seasons, and there are 2 exceptions you can find in your syllabus. Plant like bamboo, it is going to produce flower once in its lifespan. In 50 to 100 years, in the duration, it is going to produce flowers once in its lifespan. One exception. Second exception is Strobilanthes kuntiana or Nila kurinji. It is going to produce flowers only once in 12 years. So reproductive phase, in reproductive phase what happens? The organism, whether it is plant or animal, they are mature enough to reproduce. They are mature enough to produce gametes, so that it leads to fertilization and production of new offsprings or young ones. The last phase in sexual reproduction is senescence, means aging. This is the end of reproductive phase, old age, and ultimately leads to the death of an organism. So during reproductive, the second phase of sexual reproduction, reproductive phase, in case of animals, you can find 2 types of reproductive cycles. There are 2 reproductive cycles are there. One is menstrual cycle that you can find in primates. Primates like humans, monkeys, and apes. These are all the primates. And this menstrual cycle is going to take place in the females. Female primate, where you can find some changes in the female reproductive system. where in the third chapter you are going to learn in the female reproductive system, especially in the uterus in primates, the inner layer of the uterus is endometrium. This endometrium is going to break down. Because of the breakdown of this endometrium, you can find the blood flow for few days. For few days of menstrual cycle, you can find the flow of blood. So that is menstrual cycle that you can find in primates. And second type of reproductive cycle is ostrus cycle that you can find in non-primates like cow, sheep, rat, deer, dog, tiger, etc. It's a very short period for 12 to 24 hours. For example, in cow, where during this cycle the female shows irresistible sexual urge so that it can leads to copulation. It is going to attract the male partner during this ostrus cycle. And here there is no endometrium breakdown. In ostrus cycle there is no endometrium breakdown, so there is no blood flow, there is no blood loss. So two types of reproductive cycles are there: menstrual cycle in primates and ostrus cycle in non-primates. In menstrual cycle there is a bleeding due to endometrium breakdown. In ostrus cycle there is no breakdown of endometrium, so there is no bleeding. So here in menstrual cycle in primates, the female is not going to show any kind of sexual urge, irresistible sexual urge, whereas in ostrus cycle, the female non-primate is going to show the irresistible sexual urge. Let us go for the event in sexual reproduction. It is divided into three stages: pre-fertilization, fertilization, and post-fertilization. So pre-fertilization events means it is before the fertilization, before the fusion of gametes. So this includes gametogenesis and gamete transfer. These are the two events are going to take place before fertilization. One is gamete formation, formation of gametes. In case of male, spermatogenesis. In case of females, it is oogenesis. And next is gamete transfer. Once the gamete forms, they are going to transfer so that the fertilization can take place. The second stage is of event in sexual reproduction is fertilization. Fertilization in the sense it is also called as syngamy, fusion of male and female gamete to produce zygote. In fertilization, what happens? The male and female gametes are going to fuse to produce diploid zygote, because both male and female gametes are haploid, so they are going to produce diploid zygote. That process is called as syngamy or fertilization. So after fertilization, the last stage is post fertilization event, where what happens? The zygote is going to further develop into embryo by a process called embryogenesis. So that is going to observe after fertilization. Now fertilization can take place outside the body of female or inside the body of female. So if the fertilization is taking place outside the body of organism, then that will be considered as external fertilization, that you can find in bony fishes and amphibians. What happens here? After fertilization, the zygote is going to be transferred, means the large amount of gametes, both male and female gametes, are going to be released in the surrounding medium, either in the water or in the stagnant water. So their fertilization is going to take place. Especially you can take frog as an example, where you can find the larva development in the stagnant water. So that is the best example for external fertilization. And here one more point let me add here. Compared to internal fertilization, external fertilization is little bit risky. Means you cannot take the guarantee that the organism, all the gametes are going to fuse, all the gametes are going to involve in fertilization, and all the zygotes are going to convert into young ones. That guarantee you cannot take here. The second type of fertilization is internal fertilization. Syngamy or fertilization is going to take place inside the body of organism, where number of ova produced are less compared to external fertilization. Here the female is going to produce less number of egg or less number of ova, but males are going to produce large number of male gametes, large number of sperms are going to produce. So internal fertilization you can find in humans, mammals and birds, that you can find internal fertilization. Now related to fertilization, we have two more topics, oviparous and viviparous. Oviparous in the sense, here the development of zygote takes place outside the body of an organism and lay fertilized of unfertilized eggs, reptiles and birds. So oviparous animals, in the sense, simple way, the organisms are going to lay the eggs. So those eggs are going to develops and can hatch into a new individual. Whereas viviparous means the development of zygote takes place inside the body of an organism and they are going to give birth to the new young ones, that you can find in humans, dogs and horses. So this is about the revision of this first chapter. Please go through this. If you have any doubts, you can contact me.